Welcome back to Switch to Linux. This is the weekly news roundup and the privacy edition. These are recorded live Fridays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time if you'd like to jump around and catch the show live. Before we dive on in, I want to bring attention to my affiliate link for Pro Writing Aid. I am an author, and if you are an author or do any type of writing and you're like, Grammarly might be too normie for me, definitely look at Pro Writing Aid. They've been privacy from the beginning. Very good services. They have a monthly subscription for $20 a month, a yearly subscription for $63 a year, or a lifetime at $239. And if you use my promo code, then actually I think these are the rates at the 20% off. So the promo code tlm.li/PWA will get you 20% off versus if you go right onto Pro Writing Aid's website directly. So if you are interested in that service, definitely check out that link and those services. So let's go ahead and dive on into the privacy news. And first, yet another instance of a hacking situation where it wasn't necessarily a vulnerability. It was, hey, finding the weakest link in the chain. And in this case, this was Roblox. A hacker bribed a Roblox insider in order to access user data. If you read through this article, they actually got access to all the email addresses, the passwords. They were able to toggle off two-factor authentication. So basically they got in there, they got your email, all account details, anything else you had in there, turned off two-factor authentication, and changed the password and locked you out. So that is yet another instance of, even if we do trust that the company is, going to have good security, we can't necessarily trust that their company's data is going to be secure when a hacker comes on in and says, hey, let's go ahead and pay you $1 million to give up data. Because I got news for you. If you're sitting there at a low-level employee and you're getting paid, close to minimum wage, and some hacker's like, hey, give you $50,000 if you let me into that database for an hour. Yeah, sure, why not, man? And then, so that's kind of the stuff that we see. And this is just yet another example of company data being abusable because the company employees obviously had access to this data and they opened up and gave a hacker this access for a payment. So just a reminder, be very, very cautious about the data. And this is why I think that even if a company has the best privacy policy and is really committed to it, they should still only be collecting the minimum amount of data needed to provide the service because of situations like this. All right, so iOS 13.5 can automatically share your medical ID in an emergency call. So this is adding into the medical portion of the Apple devices where you have your smartphone and you set up maybe contact information. You might set up allergies and things. You can kind of see it on the screen here where they have the setup here. This is the this person is an organ donor. They're sharing emergency calls and lock screen information. Medical conditions, has congestive heart failure, allergies, penicillin and peanuts, medications, gives you the various medications. This is useful information, granted. And as long as this is an opt-in exclusive thing, I'm okay with this. But it does beg this question that the way this is going to work is there is proximity regions that a medical office, a doctor's office, a hospital, or a police agent can have with them that will unlock this data for the phone. So you go in and put this in. Now Apple can say, hey, if you have this particular item, you can scan the phone, bring it within proximity to the phone, and the phone will share a lot of medical data. It's only a matter of time before that information can potentially be abused. Can this help save lives? Absolutely. You get into a bike crash or something with your phone and nobody really knows who you are, then a first responder shows up and says, oh, we already know the medications, we already know the issues. This is a very good beneficial thing in the one respect. I am leery about the concern that the information could be overused or overabused. So take that at what you may. There are absolutely some positives, and there's a few negatives in this that I think are worthy of consideration. So I don't know, let me know what you think about that one. Further, if you have a Tesla, and I did record, I did not get a chance to watch the video yet, but TechLore had another video on Tesla this week, where apparently they are basically talking about not collecting data, and he's like, what are you talking about? Well, this hacker buys old Tesla parts, and the real clitcher of this is these parts were allegedly factory wiped by the actual user prior to selling the parts out. So basically they wipe the car, send it out to junk. Hacker buys the old Tesla parts on eBay and finds them completely full of user data. Data can be retrieved even after owners perform a factory reset, say the researchers. So these Teslas collect way too much information. Geo information, location, speed data. It wouldn't surprise me if they have little microphones recording the things that are said. You know, down in most of the states, these boxes are recording what you have to say in the car. Almost every state before a fatal accident, it was, oh crap, you know, except down in Texas, hey, y'all hold my beer and watch this, you know. But anyway, all of the data that Tesla actually has involved in their systems, all of this data, you can actually just pick up by grabbing old Tesla parts and knowing what you're doing with it. So you guys getting your Tesla cars, sure, they might be cool and flashy and amazing, but they are absolute data hogs sucking up data, and you're not getting that data back off. All right, next. Clearview. Clearview is back in the news. It has promised to cancel all relationship with private companies, but it's still going to sell its entire network database of facial ID information that was collected without knowledge or consent and in violation of terms and conditions of individual websites. And with that, it said it's still selling this to every customer who's not either associated with, not is or associated with. In other words, contractors of law enforcement can still get it. I'm going to contract with a law enforcement to sweep the floors, and then I'll gain access to the information and then grab the information and sell it to a third party. Nobody would possibly do that. But if you're not associated with law enforcement or some other federal, state, or local government office or agency, they're not going to sell to you anymore. But all of this information that has been effectively illegally collected is fair game for all of them. So I know that makes you all feel very, very wonderful and warm and fuzzy inside, and that nothing would ever potentially, possibly, ever in a million billion years go wrong. But hey, that's what they're doing. They care about our privacy. All right. And that's from BuzzFeed News. All right, so our final article of the day. Here is how Apple and Google will warn you if you have been exposed to COVID-19. Now, what is going on here is that this is the contact tracing. Now, understand this. Google and Apple are not working on a contact tracing app. They're working on a contact tracing API. The API is the thing that connects to apps. And while Google or Apple in and of itself may not directly be connected, because people are saying, oh, this is private, this is safe. Hey, they have a commitment to not, yeah. Apple says we have a commitment to not accepting privacy. I'm looking for where they're lying. Google says it, I just know they're lying. I don't even need to look for it. But we have to understand, this is not an app. This is an API. The API ties into an app developed by other third-party groups. So the actual copy that you receive, there's copy to be provided by your public health officials, because it's the public health officials that are sending out the notifications and the information. So bear that in mind, that while Google and Apple may be doing this saying we're not collecting data, it's a smokescreen for those who are. Remember that. So as we go through, we're kind of going into some of the stuff that we've already done. You can install the app. You can enable the notifications. So here is a iPhone screen of it. Your iPhone can securely collect and share random IDs. App can use these to notify you if you've been exposed. The data, duration, and signal strength and exposure will be shared with a, quote, sample public health authority app. Now, that quote sample health public authority app, that is the actual name of the application that is actually doing the data collection and things. And we know that that can't possibly be spying on us. Here you can notify others and share your test results to notify others. And this guy over here, I think this is the Android version of it. So we have an Android version. Oh, here's some possible exposures. So you can get app notifications to try and make you more paranoid. Guys, understand this. I want you to understand the entire intention of all this is to make you paranoid. This is to make you paranoid. Stop being paranoid. Stop living in fear. Oh, a person's diagnosis is verified. Oh my God, I was near this person. Ah! Even in a medical situation, according to the peer-reviewed real medical research in actual real journals, even in medical situations, your chance of getting it is extremely low. I'm not saying it's not virulent. What I'm saying is that this is all designed to scare you. Now, here's the conditions of using it. Apps must be created by or for. Understand, by or for. What is more incompetent? A third-party contractor creating an app for a government or the government contracting it itself? We just have a paradox of insanity. Neither of those are particularly good. All right, and can only be used for this particular disease response efforts until the next response comes up and we just turn everything back on again, of course. Apps must require full user consent before they can use the exposure notification API. Apps must require users to consent before sharing a positive test result and diagnosis keys associated with their device and public health authority. So information is being shared with public health authorities. Apps should collect, going back to the first article we did, should only collect the minimum amount of data necessary and can only use that data for response to this infection. All other uses of the data included targeted advertising is not permitted. So when have people never used data that is collected for any other source? You know the protocol. The modus operandi for our society, as foolish as it may be, is, hey, it's easier to ask forgiveness than it is to ask permission. So we're just going to go ahead and abuse and use and do bad things with the data all that we want. And when we're finally caught, we'll just pay the little fine because we've made 10 times more money than it actually cost us. All right. Apps are prohibited from seeking permissions to access location services. Yeah, we'll just use Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and cell tower pinging location just the same. All right, we just won't get that fine-tuned GPS. Our use of API will be restricted to one app per country to promote higher user adoption and avoid fragmentation. If a country has opted for a regional or state approach, the companies are prepared to support these authorities. I, for one, do not trust this system. That's my thoughts and my take on it because there's too much potential for abuse. Okay, way too much potential for abuse. And so in that respect, I am very leery about this. Yes, I understand that we have to take a little bit extra precaution, but this is not SARS. This is not this is not Ebola. Okay, this is a situation where we are being panic-stricken in order to give up more data. And I say stand firm. Don't stand stupid, just stand firm. That's my thought. Let me know your thoughts on all this in the comments down below.